Hey, you guys, I'm going to go back and get on my Zoom screen. Here we go. Who's waiting to be let in? Johnny Smith. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Wayne Smith. All I saw was Smith, and then I thought maybe Johnny Smith. I know his goal is to hang out with me in the morning. Good morning, Wayne. And we are live on our closed Facebook group. Thanks for joining me today. Happy Monday. Sally Hayes, your assistant team leader here, and we are going through the One Thing book. And we are going to be on pages 156. Now, I've been tracking about 10 pages at a time, and this section had more than that. So we're not going to complete the whole section today because there's some dive deep around the topic, and I want to give it some time because I believe that this section is really, really a golden nugget in the book. And it's something we can continuously strive to be better at. And when I've been in meetings with KW, other leaders across the country have mentioned a couple of times that Gary Keller is the absolute best at managing his calendar and sticking to it. Of course he is. And that is what we're going to talk about today. So we've talked about purpose. And if you went to Dusty Ogilvy's class around purpose, you gain some clarity around what is your purpose, living in purpose and on purpose. But once you find out your purpose, then you're going to make a priority to do something about it, right? Finding out and investigating what's the most important thing, what's the one thing that you can do that such by doing it makes everything easier or unnecessary. So looking at what's the top thing, we call them our big rocks. I think Wayne's having trouble popping in and out. The big rocks of what we should do every day. And then the last piece of that is live for productivity. And that's the topic we're going to talk about today. I get to have a coaching call once a week on Tuesdays with my MAPS coach, PJ, and we do that by Zoom. So she can see me and I guess she can monitor my body language around all the things we're talking about. And before you log in, the statement comes up, and I love that her VA's done this. It says that I just totally lost it. It's Monday, y'all. That the market is the market and productivity is a choice. So no matter what the market's doing, productivity is a choice. And that's what we're going to talk about. So productivity isn't about being a workhorse, keeping busy, or burning the midnight oil, so to speak. Like you don't get a badge for working hard and extra, right? It's more about priorities and planning and fiercely protecting your time. And that last piece, y'all, I know you know, right? That's not easy, protecting your time to get what you need to get done with all the things flying in your world and across your desk, across your computer, across your phone that take you away or make you think about something else. I already did that this morning. I saw something, a message from last night, and then I started going off and I'm like, what am I doing? I'm not doing what I need to do to get what I need to get done. So we talked about Ebenezer Scrooge's story in the last couple of chapters about his epiphany and his purpose and what he made priority. The difference in the outcome of the story, however, is that he actually did something about it. He got into action. He didn't go through those two steps and then just be like, nah, I might do that and I might not. So he acted and was passionate about his new purpose and empowered by a priority that fulfilled that. And he got up and he got going. So are you getting up and getting going? Productive action transforms lives. So let's go do that, right? It says, but you will never hear, I thought this was funny, the cavalry on the hill of battle go, let's go be productive. Yay. Nobody says that in a movie line. It doesn't happen. However, you're always doing something, even if you're doing nothing. Doing nothing is doing something. So what are you doing? What am I doing? How are we spending our time? Because we're either working, we're playing, we're eating, we're watching TV, we're scrolling Instagram. That's a black hole, right? It's something, and even if we're doing nothing, it's something. And every minute of every day, the question is never, will we be doing something, but rather what that something is that we'll be doing, right? So I think it's good to, if you think about it, what you're doing. Just like this morning, I realized what I was doing. And maybe I wouldn't if I hadn't just gone through this exercise to really focus on it. So I think that we have to give ourselves grace through all of this, that every day we're not going to be perfect. We're not perfect because we're not made that way. We make mistakes. Sometimes we get off track. But when you focus and you keep filling your brain with this knowledge, you'll start recognizing where you're getting in your own way, and you'll be more apt to correct it faster, right? Instead of living in the thing that's not productive for you. So, when we do what we do defines our life. And more than anything else, putting together a life of extraordinary results simply comes down to getting the most out of what you do when what you do matters. And that's that priority. So living for productivity makes for an extraordinary result. So Gary's so smart, right? So simplistic, and yet it's not always the easiest thing. So I had this conversation yesterday, and it was really funny to me that when I read this chapter, I'm like, aha, I should have had a better question. Remember, big questions give you big answers, right? So Gary says on the bottom of page 157, and I'm just going to read this because I thought it was really good. So whenever I teach productivity, I always start by asking, what type of time management system do you use? And the answers are always varied as the number of people in the room are varied. There's either a paper calendar, or there's electronic calendar, there's a day timer at a glance, there's weekly planners, all the things, and they're all different. And you name it, he's heard it. And then I ask, so how did you choose yours? How did you choose that method? The reasons cited come in every shape, size, color, price, and criteria imaginable. But the students invariably describe the format of the time management system, not the function of it, right? They tell you all the bells and whistles. It has daily affirmations. And I've said these things. It has, a place for me to write notes. I can put my closings in the back. I can track that. But the student invariably describes the format, not the function. So what they are, not how they work. So when I say that's great, but what kind of system do you use? And then the answer is, well, what do you mean? What do you mean? I see good at that Instagram mean, what do you mean? What do you mean? So, well, if everyone has the same amount of time, yet some earn more than others, I ask, can we say that it's how we use our time that determines the money that we make? Because have you heard time is money? I mean, if I said that in a room, if I said time is, everyone would go money, right? Because our brain's programmed to say that back. It's something we say, it's a script. So if this is true that time is money, then the best way to describe a time management system might be the money that it makes. So do you think you're using a $10,000 a year system, a $20,000 a year system, a $50,000 to $100,000 a year system, a $500,000 a year system? Or are you using $1 million system? That's a great question. Yeah, it's a great question. So he said there was silence. Everybody was thinking about it, right? How do we know is what someone always asks. Well, how do we know? How do we know? How much do you make? Is the Gary's reply. So whatever you're making, that's the time management system or the money making follow-up system that you've got into place. And Gary says he's never worked for anyone that wasn't a millionaire. It just happened that way. He surrounded himself with that. The most successful people are the most productive people. They just get a lot done in the time that they have because they want to enjoy life and they don't want to have that midnight oil, right? They don't want to do that. My goal is no longer to get more done, but rather to have less to do. Francine J made that quote at the bottom of 158. So that is, how do we do this? Well, we have to time block. So, I told you that we weren't going to finish this section today because it's going to dive deep in how to protect time, how to time block effectively. And we're going to go through a process. So if you are like, yes, I want to have a better system, I want to make more money with my system, then stay tuned, because even further past this section, we're going to talk about the goal setting tools that'll help you get there with that. So it says on the top of 159, I love his little simple things, right? The thing is, time block your one thing and then protect your time block. Simple, easy peasy, right? Time block your one thing and protect your time block. Make an appointment with yourself and keep it. Keeping it's hard. I do it all the time. Y'all, I've already time blocked for the week. My calendar has in it, I have a time for myself, like a personal appointment for me that's already in the calendar. I have my lead gen, and you remember lead gen is not just prospecting. A lot of people automatically going to making phone calls. It is that's the highest productivity part of that lead gen process, but it's also marketing. Marketing and prospecting are both lead generation. All right. So the things that you're doing to get more leads, that needs to be in your calendar, your time off and those types of things. So Gary says in time blocking, I find this fascinating, that he comes from a long line of lethargic people. Amen, Gary. Amen. He said it's really true, even though a lot of people laugh. I just don't see it. And that's because he's working outside his comfort zone. He's making it happen, but he also enjoys his time, right? So he wants to be more productive. He said that in his genes, he has more in common with the tortoise than the hare. And he said he works with a lot of people blessed with a lot of energy, and they vibrate. They're so energetic. They can work overtime, extended hours that he can't, his body just can't do it. So he has some personal constraints that keeps him from burning the midnight oil. And he's had to find ways to get the most productivity in the amount of time, because his battery just runs out and his body is affected by it. And he doesn't want to lose his health. So his solution is time blocking and protecting it. Time blocking is just a very results-oriented way of viewing and using time. And it's a way to make sure it gets done. Alexander Graham Bell said, concentrate all your thoughts upon the work at hand, right? So it harnesses your energy and puts you to the most important work, and it's your greatest power tool and to be productive. Now on page 160, it shows, and I thought, actually, this first graph I thought was fabulous. Like I thought that's me, right? And it's not the best me. The second graph would be the best me. It would be a productive day, but it is a typical day for most of us. And it's on page 160, figure 27. So it says you go to your calendar, block off time that you need to accomplish your one thing. Remember your one thing question. And one thing, block off appropriate hours of the day. If it's a regular thing, block off appropriate time every day so it becomes a habit. And that's where, like when the time blocking, I had a coach that helped me with this. Once I had to turn in my calendar every Friday. If I didn't do it by a certain time, I had a self-imposed embarrassing thing I would have to do. And it became such a habit. And then of course, after I started creating the habit of having the time block, I had to create the habit of making sure I always followed every piece of it. And I started discovering that what I was doing that I should be doing differently. And so it's a journey. And how did I know that I created the habit? Well, first of all, I did it more than 66 days because I'm a little bit of a slow learner. It takes me more than 66 days to create a habit I learned. And how I knew it was a habit is because when I went on vacation, I was like, oh gosh, this feels weird and funky because I'm not time blocked on my vacation. And it took me a minute to actually enjoy it, to get out of that mindset, because I was so programmed that I started trying to time block my vacation. You know, people that already do that, right? That have the agenda when you're in Disney World and they know which ride you're going to first. They've time blocked your day. Yes. Okay. So you may be that person. Good for you. This is gonna be easier for you than the rest of us. All right. So this is how we all are usually, right? This is us. This is our one thing. This is everything else, right? See how much time we're spending? Not very much. So for extraordinary results, has to be an extraordinary amount of time added to the thing that you need to do that's a priority to make that domino run happen. So you have to have disproportionate time for disproportionate results. So it comes from one activity, then you must give that one activity a lot of your time. And today, what's the one thing I can do for my one thing, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier and necessary. And so when you find the answer, you'll be the most leveraged activity for your most leveraged work. This is how your results become extraordinary. So giving most of your day to what you have to do. Now, this is going to take a little bit of adjustment, right? A little bit of adjustment. So when you put this in your calendar, it needs to become irreplaceable. Now, I know in bold, and you guys that have had bold can say this with me, if you erase, I want, if you're watching right now on Facebook Live, to type what the rest of that is in the comments, according to your time blocking. If you erase, you must blank. I'm going to look to see if you know. All right. So this says that you're going to add the first thing to your calendar is going to be your vacation. That's the time for you, the time for your family. That needs to happen first before anything else happens. You're going to put that in, and you always want to have planning in your calendar. You need to plan. I was never really, like, I wasn't doing that previously. So plan to plan, time block when you're going to do your time blocking. And pick a day on the weekend or whenever that is. For this example, Gary's got it written in on Sunday on page 162. He's got an example of that. He doesn't have anything on Saturdays, and then he's got planning on Sunday, and he's got his vacation. But every other day has your one thing written on the thing. So once you've done your one thing for the day, you can devote the rest to everything else. Now you got to have, showing houses, appointments, all those things. Just use the focusing question after you've done your one thing. Use the focusing question to ask what's the most important thing of all of the everything else's that you could do to help prioritize the rest of it. So time blocking works on the premise that a calendar records appointments, but doesn't care who those appointments are with. So when you know your one thing and make an appointment with yourself to tackle it, you'll put that on your calendar. Every day, great salespeople generate leads, great programmers program, and great artists paint. So take any profession and any position and fill in the blank. Great success shows up when time is devoted every day to becoming great. So you can see on this page, they're very simple. And you're going, Sally, if my life was that simple, well, you're going to have to think about it. And you don't change unless something changes. Okay. And the good news is you can start today. So here's the plan, right? Your one thing, spend an hour to plan. And then he's got suggested 8 a.m. to noon to do your one thing. Okay. And so there it is. Make an appointment with yourself and keep it. All right. So page 164, our last page, it suggests that the most results and experienced greatness time block these three things in the following order. So to achieve extraordinary results and experience greatness, time block these three things. First, your time off, then your one thing, and then your planned time. Super easy. Those are your three big rocks. Everything else gets put in the cracks of your calendar. So next time we talk next week, maybe Labor Day, so it'll be the week after that, we're going to talk about those three things and dive deep into those. Time blocking for efficiency, your planning time, and what that looks like. And then once we finish that, we're going to move into the three commitments to your time block. Nobody ever, whoever gave his best regretted it. So guys, remember, we're on a journey to do that, and we're walking together, right? So I did my calendar over the weekend, and I've got, after this lead generation time, there's a lot of things that I do to lead generate. I call agents. I do Facebook lead ads. I write handwritten notes. I can do videos. So there's a lot of things that could create leads in my world that I need to get done, and I need to put them in that calendar. And of course, don't forget to time block yourself lunch. That's important to have fuel your battery. We'll talk about that in the rest of the book. And I've got appointments times already created in my calendar, so I can give someone a clear choice about when I have time to meet with them instead of letting them design my calendar. So there are some suggestions. I'd love to work with you. I hope you have a fabulous week. Wayne, thank you for joining me on here. I appreciate it. I didn't see if you'd written me anything in the chat box, but thanks for popping on. And all of you watching on Facebook Live, hey, I want to ask, who do you know that I need to know? Who do you know right now that I need to know that you've had a transaction with, that is thinking about getting a real estate license, is already in one of the real estate schools? I can catch the folks at Success pretty often because they're really open to me treating them to lunches and things like that. But Trees, I'm not having very much success of connecting with students. So if you know somebody in the Trees real estate school, I need to connect with them. So please give myself or Jay a green card. That if you need a green card, come down the hallway, ask Ashley for one. It's my way to make sure somebody gets in my database and not on a Post-it note that gets thrown away. So it's a system. And I hope that you have a fabulous Monday. Let me know if you need anything, and we'll see you again soon. See about that time blocking this week and how you can be more purposeful. I can't wait to hear your success stories.